Okay, today is June 25th, 2014. This is the Catalyst Coop project. It's been being worked on since October of 2011. I'm going to do a pretty detailed walkthrough today. Show some of the evolutions. So when I first moved into the place, the driveway went straight up through here, right up next to the house. And for purposes of privacy and wind blockage and trying to manipulate where snow drifts end up, I placed some cedars along in here that will in time grow up and be something more akin to what these fellers are. That's going to be Yin, and she's probably going to sit here and meow the entire time. Pregnant little girl. So, put in a nice curved driveway that wrapped around the existing location in order to get the windbreak of the cedars and everything put in here, as well as starting to grow these polyculture beds, which have large variety of things in them. This year I put in buckwheat. Onions are back here. There's some borage. Lemon balm. Of course, clovers all over the place. There is hairy vetch in this bed. Beans. This is a black nightshade. Quite contrary to what everybody seems to think online, my chickens eat the shit out of these things. I think most people just don't know the difference between black nightshade and deadly nightshade. These are perfectly good berries, and if the chickens didn't think so, they sure as hell wouldn't eat them. That's how that works. There's also some wild stuff, plenty of wild stuff. Things like, here is a devil's claw plant, which you can eat the fruit of the devil claw a lot like okra. So I'll try to eat up a bunch of that or destroy a lot of the fruit because I don't want, too many of these growing around. But for biomass, let it grow sort of a deal, right? Chop it down later. Also, we see here the yellow wood sorrel has a very lemony flavor. Awesome stuff that I just let grow wild and help it along so it grows more. More buckwheat, of course, that's everywhere over here. There's the stray wheat plant, which is simply from the straw and different mulches that have been utilized in the creation of these beds. This particular bed is the only bed that was actually tilled, if you will, because this was again all rowed through here, so just like it is here. Thus, this was all dug out and had some better earth brought into it. The rest of the beds, as we move on, for the exception of the hugel beds, were just simply started right on top of the ground without tilling anything, just doing sheet mulches, using the biggest variety of stuff that I could get. Also over here, some kind of flower there I can't remember the name of, and some white sage, ceremonial sage. Rose and a ground cover down there along with it. A lot of these things, these roses, were ripped up by a backhoe over on a project I was on, and just tried to see if they would survive, and indeed they have come back And there's a lot of examples of things like that around here. If I had to take a guess, I'd say that I've spent less than $1,000 on plants, seeds, trees, and everything. A lot of the stuff that I did buy is dead as well, but through the compounding nature of seed and everything else, and root propagation, it just keeps compounding more and more, deeper and deeper. And wherever I can find free things to plant, I sure will. It's already gonna even put off some roses this year. We've got some peppers over in this direction. More black nightshade. Of course, things like our lamb's quarters there are allowed to grow. We have the only spinach plant that wanted to do anything, and it's still weak and pathetic over here. So hopefully I'll get some seed out of that one this year. That's about it for this particular bed there. Back view. The other section over here isn't really a bed at all, it's more of a wild area. My intention as I get the road, or the circle drive I should say, all finished up, which basically entails bringing it higher and higher to the point that I want it, then all the water from the entire circle drive area, which comes around, will flow back to this center point in here. Goal being to create kind of a boggy area, or at least a wetter area than would generally be found in this area, right? So in time, you know, none of the wood or stuff things will be there. Some of these trees will get pruned out as things grow up, like these pecan trees. I think this might be an almond actually. Here I have a volunteer cucumber, it looks like. Nice. We like volunteers. This is also a volunteer tree here. Might have been from some seed that I had tried to start in flats and was unsuccessful with, so they ended up getting dumped out here, kind of a deal, and some of them took off. I believe that's what that is. So hopefully it'll end up being a nut tree. Anyway, I've got a few more of them lined up down here, so that as the driveway gets done and get some of that wood moved out of the way and whatnot, then that'll start opening up this particular boggy garden. As you can see right back here, there's a wild grape, wild Kansas grape that had started last year. Just let it do its thing. It digs it here. Can't wait to see some fruit on it. Everything out here at Catalyst Coop has been done to this point with minimal investment. Very tiny amounts of income in my life, so I take things rather slowly. All projects have no projects have a timeline. What gets done gets done. This is the third summer into this, and the changes are amazing. Other people will have a bit of money and they can come in to a piece of land like this and just completely, you know, almost jump in and do it all at once and then just start letting it mature. But I've found through working at the poor way, if you will, the poor process, that I have fewer things that I will ever need to redo in the future. Set something up and it changes the plan of something else that hadn't got started yet. Whether that's layout reasons or growing reasons, space reasons. It's just nice to be patient, take your time with all these things. You have less backtracking, and especially if you're one to invest a boatload of money immediately and do it all at once, well, you could very well have some wasted money in the hindsight or in the back end if you don't, especially if you didn't have some Bill Mollison or Jack Spirko or some guy design your place for you, because there's obviously, this is a natural system, but that doesn't mean that there's not knowledge to be had here. Permaculture is design science, essentially. So if you're not doing it in a design form and fashion like myself, you're just kind of throwing things out and seeing what survives, seeing what likes it, seeing what moves on, and experimenting. It's a very cheap process. So this is still the bed next to the driveway here, and here I have some German chamomile doing its thing, more sage, lettuce, which isn't doing so well over here, right? So it just doesn't like this particular area. But when we see some of the other lettuces shortly, you'll see that I found a place in many places that lettuce likes to grow. In fact, it's seeding itself freely at this point. There's also 2 volunteer tomatoes, which I may not let fruit, but I'll probably at least let them grow for biomass. Some basil, marigolds, dill, more chamomile, some mullein, beans. And this is an interesting wildflower that has, it's an amazing, almost menthol kind of smell to it. It's rather sticky, very pungent, and it'll put off some little yellow flowers later. I have no idea what it is. Anybody knows, let me know. Of course, lots and lots of little froggies doing their thing. These are all rocks that my grandfather had collected himself in Shinchin. His years on the homestead there. In fact, there's a lot of Shinchin here, including this foot grate here, which was Grandpa's. It was always by the house, and I scraped my feet on it as a youngster. His little kitty cat that he had in the window. Some more rocks. And of course, it's a Shinchin street sign from down in the Smoky Hill River, where that was found. And we'll progress back here to the main 6th acre. Let's see. Yeah, about 1/6 acre polyculture beds.